There was just one thing I picked up on when you were talking about all the these men of, or migrants of men of fighting age coming into the country, and you said that there was maybe 1 million or something like that.
There may be as many as 1 million, yes, maybe.
And I just wondered what your thoughts were about how these people were recruited in the first place.
Oh, how they're recruited?
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a mystery to me. I mean, I read bits about it, but
it's not something that I particularly research into. So the short answer is I don't know. All I know is that they make it to our shores, and I'm fairly sure that there are agencies. I suspect that it's Serco that's doing the recruiting. It's Serco that's one of the biggest companies in the world now. So I think it's a private corporate recruiting job.
Because you could bring these things up to your normal people on the street or at work or your friends or whatever, and they'll accuse you of being a racist or whatever. But then
they have to accuse you of something. Otherwise, it means that they're stupid.
But I mean, it's a simple question. It's like it does seem to be happening. I mean, even in all parts of Scotland,
they're in military training. We've seen them in Kent doing military manoeuvres. They have, it is not debatable that they're here. You could argue about whether it's 500,000, 750,000 or 1 million. It's not debatable that they're here. The only debating point is, what are they here for? Time will tell, but I don't think they're here to dress up as Father Christmas and hand out prezzies. I think they have. Huh? I think that's the worst case scenario. I'm not so sure. I think that they're here more to, like I say, to protect the status quo, whatever that means.
Yeah.
I don't think they're here to. No, I don't think they're here to shoot on sight. That's not how the cabal work. They don't do that kind of thing. They have to organise a war.
But if they don't organise the bedazzlement, maybe put the old people in the care homes.
Yeah, but that was a controlled demolition of a certain demographic.
That was setting the stage.
Yeah, but even 1 million soldiers. Remember, there's going to be 20 million of us knocking around, roughly. So, I don't think they're going to. It's not going to be a head-on collision, a head-on battle.
You only shoot 5 people per skull.
Yeah, but I don't think that's how. Listen, it's possible, but I don't think that's how these things work. I think that they have people here. They're going to be protecting. So maybe protecting the cabal. Once enough people realise what's going on, then we'll have vigilantes. We'll have vigilante groups.
Most people know what's going on.
And so these agents, these migrants, will be paid to protect, Sunak and Blair and what have you. That's the way I see it. So they're protection agents. They're not offensive. I think they're going to be defensive, right? The only offensive I can conceive of is where there's a jab rollout and they're part of the jab rollout. But they're not going to come. You hear people talking about, they're going to go into shopping malls and go. That's fear porn, in my opinion.
Well, I think they know they're waking up and they're rapidly, and they're scared. So
they are very.
They're very scared, and these people will do anything to protect themselves, even kill their own people.
Absolutely, they are scared, but and they have. So that's why they're employing this protectionist army. Yeah. So.
See, under the state of affairs today, have we, under common law, got the right for lawful rebellion?
You're kind of asking the wrong guy, because let me explain why. I used to personally know, in fact, no, we didn't live under the same roof, because I only moved in after he died. That's David Robinson, Practical Lawful Dissent. And lived under the same roof but at different times. And I was impressed by his sincerity and his passion for everything he did and everything he taught. But there was a little voice inside my head saying, this won't work. And his life was evidence of the fact that it doesn't work, because it made him ill, ultimately led to his early demise. The reason I say that common law doesn't work, it's not that it doesn't exist. Of course it exists. But common law is implemented by a system of jury trial. So unless you're a member of a jury that's trying the law as well as the defendant, there's no real there's contract, there's common law in contract, there's common law in tort. But in terms of common law in the world of finance, it's not happening. It's a kind of mismatch. It's in my opinion, it's a misconception. Common law is applied by the people. It's not applied by individual men and women. That's the way I see it. And I think it can get a lot of people into a lot of trouble. Dean Clifford in Canada is now an equity and trust man, and he said that common law just got him put away for 7 years, and he's not doing common law ever again. So we need to learn by these brave souls' examples. Dean Clifford, and also Amanda Vollmer, the naturopath. She's learned from his mistakes. Yeah. And I think we have to be very cautious about common law and apply natural law, nature. I'm a man. Yeah. A man needs to sign a contract. So that's where I come in. I've also got some statutory protection, GDPR, and I've got the limits applied to their behaviour within their own rules. So you have a lot of remedy. You don't even need common law. You just got to know who you are, that everything is contractual. No obligation can be imposed on a man who knows that he is a man, ditto woman, without full disclosure and freely given consent. End of. And that's it. You don't need common law for that. And when I was on Richard Vobes, he said, right, David, what are we going to discuss today? Common law? I said, no, Richard, we're not. We're going to discuss common sense. So if the common law practitioners started spouting common sense and called it common sense, I'm on board with that. 100%, full on. That's just my take, but I never, even on my privacy course, there's a little section called Playing the Constitutional Common Law Card. But it's a tiny little section in like 300 pages of notes. It's mainly equity, trust, privacy, GDPR, common sense, using their rules against them. Would you rather be right or happy? It's just boxing clever. It's looking all around for remedy, but not buying into any one thing, and taking as much advice from people who've trodden the path and have got some results to show, ideally good results. But CLC, Common Law Court, John Smith. I met the guy. I even went to a few of the show trials in Manchester. And my opinion then was, this is just the kindest thing to say, that I would say, is that this was showing the way, but it's not happening now, because the blobbies don't just, like a judge was on record as saying, well, this is just Toy Town trial, isn't it? It's just for kids. So you have to have a certain level of acceptance amongst the people, because we're only a section of the people, for it to have traction. So it's about common sense, traction, numbers game. It's a numbers game. In principle, common law is honourable and fine, and but I have issues with Magna Carta, and I have issues if I haven't signed a contract, and the Magna Carta was a contract at the end of the day. I wasn't even around then. I know I'm older than I look, but I wasn't around then. So it's just, so I think somewhere along the line, some well-meaning people have got themselves, backed themselves into a bit of a corner, and haven't known how to. It's very hard to pull the plug on something when you look around and you've got 100,000 followers. It's not easy to say, actually, folks, I didn't mean it. Common law doesn't work, you know. It's impossible. But equity and trust, the highest form of law anyway, equity. It's the highest form of trust law. It's the highest form of man-made law. And natural law is beyond that, because that's do no harm.
What's about God's law?
Yeah, natural law is, when I say natural law, I mean God's law, that I operate, do no harm, take no shit. Yeah? And be on the, and to, do no harm, and above all, do no self-harm. Because harm includes self-harm. So why would you, self-harm includes buying into their bullshit. So that's why I love natural law, because it covers all the evils of compliance.
Can I just ask, could we use natural law? Could we use natural law in our life to say, to keep us out of trouble? Well, not trouble, but out of trouble that was maybe. I'm not saying if we harm anybody, but you know, like for driving offences or not paying something. I mean, would natural law actually be able to be used to win your case?
Well, okay, I'm struggling with some of that question, because win your case presupposes that there is a case. So someone who stands under natural law will see through the fact that there isn't a case, because the case is not being brought under natural law because nobody has been harmed. If there's no evidence that anybody has been harmed or defrauded, I mean, no man or woman has been harmed or defrauded, then there is no case. Therefore, so for example, when I was arrested for a COVID offence, it caught me off guard. So what I did was I came up with a bullshit reason to have an adjournment while I'm sort of getting my head around how I'm going to deal with this. And then a few weeks later, it occurred to me that I need to serve a notice. Now, I didn't call it a notice under natural law. You don't use the phrase natural law. You just use the phrase notice, right? Because the natural law is we pluck it from the ether. It's not there or there or there. Or there. It's not an identifiable concept. It's just, we know it exists, but it's something that we stand under without naming it. It's a bit like God. You don't put a name to, it's the unnameable. So I sent in a conditional notice saying, happy to come to your court provided you prepay my appearance fee of 25 grand. So that wasn't common law, that was common sense with a touch of natural law. In other words, I was sending out a message saying, in effect, I know who I am, and I did, and the letter was the notice was 4 pages long. So I put them on notice that I knew who I was, but it was more couched in terms of, you prove that I'm not a man. You prove, happy to come provided you can prove that I'm a person, not a man, that you have jurisdiction without my consent, that you have a man or woman coming forward to say that I've harmed them, I'll come. And of course, you'll prepay my appearance fees of 25 grand, because it's very expensive coming to court. And you've got to charge at the rate of a barrister, and they're about 3 grand a minute. They are. The thousands of pounds per minute, you know? So that's what we have to do. We have to reevaluate who we are. So we put a value, and if they're pestering us with admin, then you counter it with your admin charges. You know, happy to respond to you, but this is admin in commerce, and we charge. So if you can continue to send me more letters, then I will charge you £500 per letter. And if they're asking you for £250, you're already £250 up by the time the next letter comes. Now, I call that common sense. And I'm not, it sounds facetious, I'm not being, because this is what I teach. I like to think I teach common sense.
It's what you value what you're worth.
You value what you're worth. You've seen, you've negated this idea that because some corporation with a fancy logo and someone with letters after their name is saying that you, is that you again, isn't it? You owe, so, well, And so again, some of my notes, I don't do it now. I try and lead not try. I endeavour, insofar as to lead a paperwork-free life. So I'm not having. So this is history for me. This is where I learned how to do this. I did it for myself, then I started teaching it. But now that it's like anything, you learn to do it, and then you stop doing it when you realise that you don't need to do it, and that you can in fact just pile their letters up, and on November the 5th or whatever your bonfire night is, just burn them, you know, because they're coming from the mythical, fictional corporate world, and you're a man or a woman. So in natural law, I know that they can't speak to me. They can't even contract with me.
So you can just ignore them then? It's not tacit agreement, because I always thought it was tacit agreement to ignore them.
No, well, the thing is that, again, I have to be very careful how I respond to questions, because the questions are phrased in a slight, you know, they're not. Can you ignore them? Yes, you can. But should you ignore them? Well, that depends on context. You have to decide, if I ignore them, what are they going to do? Well, ultimately, they might come round with the heavy mob. Does that mean they can get in? No, of course not. Does it mean that they're coming to psych you out? Yes. Can I cope with being psyched out? Well, yes, I can, but my mother may have a fit, or my son or my daughter. So there's lots of variables, and this is what they're relying on. Now, you can counter that if you have a genuinely vulnerable household with a baby or a toddler or even a kid, or you're a single parent mum or dad, then you are a vulnerable household that should never have a visit from anyone.
See, I've got all that I've already got that in my conditional notices to the council, yet they're ignoring them.
Well, and the other thing that I was going to say to the young man over there was these are criminals. So they're just going to another level of criminality. As we awaken and as we become toughened up, wise up, and become more resilient, well, what will a criminal do? You know, they're not going to go crying to their mums and dads. They're going to come harder. And they're going to tell more lies and deny more truths. And that's part of our growth. And we have to expect that, you know. I have a lot of students say, oh, they're not going away. Well, of course they're not going away. What do you expect? These are known as revenue protection racketeers. It's a protection racket. So the protection racket's not going to go anywhere. It needs to feed off you. They are bottom feeders. And one of humanity's big problems is that, you know, these other beings that I mentioned before, we feed off food, but some people, including some of us, feed off other people. Energy vampires. So, you know, anyone who's causing you stress and strife for no apparent reason is an energy vampire. And that would include most of the police, the enforcement agents, the banks, the civil servants, if you give them a chance. So the strategy is, so back to the issue of, do I ignore it? Well, if you know how to safely turn your back, that's going to be a pretty good strategy most of the time, because you're not going to allow it to feed off you, are you? So I call it total disengagement. Total disengagement, provided you're prepared to follow it through, and you don't have a weak. For example, it's no good doing or following up with total disengagement if you go off to Sainsbury's or wherever, leaving someone in who's just not on the page. So they shit themselves and open the door. So how good is total disengagement then? So you've got to be part of a solid team, either on your own or part of a solid team. And so many people tell me, oh no, you know, like, oh, they got in. Well, wait a minute, you've done my course, how did they get in? Well, my mum let them in. Yeah? You need to get another mother. But this is a war, so we've got to take into account as much of these variables as possible, yeah? I call it context. Everything is contextual. I cannot give black and white advice because there could be greyness in your environment that I can't factor in because I don't know about it. See what I mean? Hand up.
So this is kind of not on topic, but you say, well, I need the why. What do you think the why is? What is the purpose? Why is it that this is a position that we've been put in as humanity?
Oh, I like big questions. Why? Why? That's actually quite a much easier question to answer than you might think. How is more difficult to answer. No, why is because there is an entity that David Icke and Paul Levy, a psychologist in America, calls Wetiko. Wetiko is a universal virus. It's a parasite that gobbles universes, right? So it has agents, it's spawned beings that also parasite, not off entire universes, but off planets and people on those planets. So we're talking about a parasitical takeover of a planet while the people are in the process of awakening and outgrowing the parasite. There may be an EMP coming soon that actually wipes out all parasites, and we might wake up one day with all the parasites in our bodies just dissolved. Yeah, so this is a war for integrity and divinity and true identity against the ultimate in parasites and all their offspring.
So that would suggest that everything comes from one thing. So would you agree that we're all part of this same thing? Whole. Like, are we part of source? Are we part of, like, if God is between our temples and within us, are we all together with the parasite in the universe? But it just so happens that it's ever fighting.
Yeah, it's the ultimate shadow, isn't it? Whenever you create light, by definition, there has to be a shadow, isn't it? There's a shadow. So the ultimate shadow is this parasitical entity that some people call Wetiko. So its agenda, it feels separate from divinity, separate from source. So it's having universes, it can't feed off source, so it has to feed off something else. So that it's feeding off universes. And then that's the macro level. Then on the micro level, your narcissistic ex or parent or friend or colleague or boss, they don't have their own sense of connection to source. It got lost along the way, so they have to feed off you. So that's the micro, that's the fractal of the big. So you got Wetiko feeding off entire universes and the narcissist in your life feeding off you, because you are a micro universe. So there's does that answer the question? Yeah.
Thank you. So I've been researching sort of legalese and law and all that stuff for, I don't know, about 10 years now, and I'm still an idiot in legalese and I always will be. But I've got a few friends who are going down the trust and equity route, trying to get remedy, and I'm wondering if that is the solution, because they are trying to tap into this fund that we're all supposed to have to discharge all debts and everything that we're being made to pay with our sweat equity. Is that the solution, trust and equity?
I've got issues with that. Those funds were not created by us. They were created through us. So it's dirty money. And people do access those funds. I've personally met one or two. But they can't sleep well at night, because they always think that there's going to be a knock on the door. And sometimes there is. Or sometimes they're driving along and things happen, you know, because you're not supposed to access your funds. It's too dangerous for the cabal. Meanwhile, something has been imported from America called English Counties Assembly with Prosperity Card. So that's where I'm heading, and that's a status correction, which means that your legal name is reconveyed onto land and soil. So that's where I'm heading. I've been saying for years, no, don't worry about status correction, just know who you are under God's law. And that's true. I'd never deny that. I'd never say, no, I got that wrong. But what I would say is that something has finally come along that I trust to give us a more specific remedy, which is to, you know, get our property, whatever that is, onto dry land. So, for example, the analogy is your legal name was floated out to sea, you're dragging it back into dry dock. It's not you that's in dry dock, because you're already on the land. You have to be, you can't be anywhere else. But it brings the legal name, takes it out of their jurisdiction, onto land and soil. And watch this space, because my friend Stephen is the English. Don't think Scotland has caught on yet. It's very, very new even for England. America's got 5,000 practitioners of land and soil jurisdiction. Australia's got 500. England has just barely got 50. But it's you know, I'm getting involved. I'm going to be the Kent coordinator.
Does data protection form part of that, in the sense that you retrieve your name by not allowing them to use it?
Well, you list all the names and variations that you're taking back. No, it's not data protection as such. It's you could say it's data retrieval in a way. You're retrieving that data. So as you retrieve it, and you're protecting it more directly than relying on them to honour your rights under GDPR. So it's a more direct form of protection. It's self-protection rather than government protection or corporate protection of your so-called identity.
So will you be sharing that information on your website?
No, not yet. In the future. First things first, I've got to do the reconveyance myself, and I'm due to do it literally tomorrow, actually. Well, I'm due to do the signing. You sign and seal, and then you record that on the database, and then you send a copy to the Foreign Secretary, because you've transferred yourself out of UK jurisdiction onto England, or English, or in this case Scotland, land and soil. So that's going to be next level protection for people who've been flailing around for remedy and kind of having a loss here, a success there, but hopefully, and I say fingers crossed, this could be what the remedy that we've all been waiting for. And I'm on the Zooms now regularly. Well, it's Jitsi rather than Zoom. And the inspiration behind it is Anna von Reitz. Anyone heard of? Yeah? Well-known legal from America. And she's a fountain of knowledge, especially the history of law, true common law, constitutional common law. And I think there is a suspicion that there's been an infiltration, so we're about to have some meetings to get rid of this infiltrator. So we've got to do some clean-up operations, get the counties in England going. Kent isn't even going yet, because I'm going to be the first. And then maybe 6 months from now, we'll have some news. And I'll probably, if we're invited, I'll bring Stephen up. I kind of like mother him a bit, I'll bring him up. Yeah. Come on, Stephen, we're going to Scotland. So just watch this space. English Counties Assembly at the moment. And there's a website, englishcountiesAssembly.co.uk, I think, something like that. No, it's maybe the englishcountiesAssembly.co.uk. Yeah. But a question over there? And the finance that it gives access to is gold-backed finance, not fiat, for those who you were wondering. Gold-backed, the notes will have, you know, little threads of gold on them, and the card will be, it's called a prosperity card. So, like I said, yes, sir.
I was just going to say, so we're listening to all this stuff about different types of law and notices, and for 99.9% of the people, that's going to be way above their head.
At least 99.9%.
Yeah, you know, and is there not just an easy way? Can we not just ignore them? And you know, what would happen if everybody just ignored everything?
We
or
would
as many
all live
people as
happily
possible
ever
just
after.
ignored everything? And you know, I mean, it would be so much easier for everybody to do. To say, well, I'm just going to ignore all their notices. I'm going to ignore all their laws. I'm going to ignore, you know, and just as long as you don't do anybody any harm. And I don't know.
Well, haven't we just had this conversation?
Well, yes.
We've just had this conversation. Yes, you can. Of course you can. There's something called shadow councils now in England, where people form their own councils, and when the official council are in dereliction of duty, they just go in and take it over. It's happening more and more. So yes, you're going to soon be able to. Again, it's a numbers game. Get the numbers together and tell your councils that they are sacked. Well, when you do it, sir, then you will be the one. No, you see, what I'm detecting is a kind of a reluctance to be the standard bearer, right? It's a very common phenomenon. People ask me all the time, has anyone done this yet? And I have got this standard response, yes, you're about to do it.
It's non-compliance, you're just going to stop paying.
You just, exactly. So I'm not winding you up, you're absolutely right, but it's a numbers game. It's like as soon as enough people go, I get it now, I don't have to pay this, that and the other. And if 50 people all on one street, there's only 2 enforcement agents, they can't do 50, it's a number, they're going to give up. So obviously, being who they are, they'll come back with another plan, you know, another plan. That's why why do you think they want CBDC and digital passports? Because they can see our non-compliance coming, they can smell it a mile off. Shit, these people they're going to stop paying us soon. They're onto us. They know that now. We've all sent in enough notices. So the notices were all relevant because it was like a stepping stone towards the big act of non-compliance, which is coming soon, actually. You know, one day very soon, because it has happened before, you know, poll tax in the 80s, wasn't it? A big gesture of non-compliance is around the corner. Okay, but this time, rather than let it go, we're going to latch onto it and take it further. So I don't know what it is yet, but it's I can smell it coming. A big act of mass non-compliance. It could be with a lockdown, you know, another lockdown. We're not doing, you see a lot of people saying, we're not doing another lockdown. And I think there'll be millions who will actually not just say it, they'll actually do it. When I was out there, enjoying the first so-called lockdown, which was actually an economic shutdown, loving every minute of it, I had Manchester to myself. I was doing a little yoga in the back garden, you know, absolutely had a whale of a time, gave me time to research, get my breath back, do all the research that I needed to research, realised that I only knew 5% of what I thought I knew, you know. So this is an act of humility. When you're given a chance to learn stuff, first you've got to unlearn all the shit that you've ever been told. So that's the big one. And so there is a big act. So that's why it's so important to keep meeting, keep fraternising, keep rubbing shoulders, because it's like, are you ready? You know, ready for what? No, I just said, are you ready? No matter what, are you ready? You know? So that's all, because a big counter is coming. That's all, you know?
Still time for a question?
You briefly touched on the pandemic treaty. What steps can we take? Like, what can we actually do practically against that? Because petitioning the king, who is basically, working with the World Economic Forum and all that, what can we actually do against the pandemic?
You can do a lot of things. You can practically create a leaflet. Create a leaflet and put. Right, well, and then pick up a bundle and go off and put them in people's letterboxes. You can go Saturday morning, we're at High Street, Edinburgh, or wherever, yeah? And you can put a little table up and you've got all these leaflets and you can say, would you like a leaflet, sir? Would you like a leaflet, madam? Yeah? That's what you can do. And you can get the light paper, you can subscribe, they'll get you a bundle for your street. There's all kinds of different subscriptions you can have, or you can get a group together. We collect about £200 a week to buy, that buys 2,000 papers. So 20 of us put in £10 on average a week, and we've got 2,000 light papers to give out. It's only 10p each, yeah? Get the group together. That group could then go on to be your rapid response team. Who knows? We come from all over Kent. We're the Kent resistance. So that's not even Canterbury. That's the whole county. So you could be the Edinburgh outreach, Edinburgh resistance. There's so many things. And I have to tell you, of all the things that I do, I love giving talks. I love doing my course. But of all the things that I do, it's the outreach that really makes me feel as though I'm making a big difference. Like a big difference. You can make a difference by preaching to the converted, for sure, but that's when I feel like I'm reaching people and you can tell, oh, thank you so much, love what you're doing. Even some people say, I'm not going to take a paper, but I love what you're doing, keep it up, and the appreciation is amazing. So just keep the faith in life, in self, in God. If you do God, know that you are chosen to spread truth. Does that make sense?
I'm worried to be part of that, but what about
keep doing it.
Yeah, okay, what about the legal side of it? Can we do something about it to prevent it from being implemented?
You don't need to worry about that. You don't need to worry about that because we have quantum entanglement. If enough truth goes out to enough people, enough times, then all this, remember ultimately it's only a psyop, ultimately this psyop will just evaporate. When enough people go, oh, I read about this in the light paper 6 months ago. Yeah, they've been planning this for years. I'm not having this. Yeah? So don't think about the WHO and Charles and whoever. That's over there. At the moment, we're here rippling out our truth. We're not focused on lies. We're rippling out truth because we're aware of the lies, but we're not focused on the lies. So we need pull in your energy more towards truth. And because otherwise they've done a number on you. They've got you focused on the lies.
You're feeding into their collective consciousness. You want to feed into this collective consciousness, you know what I mean?
Remember, like happiness, truth is an inside job. So they're frightened of us talking to each other. They're not frightened of us directly, but they're frightened of us. When we get together, we're so powerful, it's incredible.
Critical mass.
Critical mass. And that's why they're going insane. And then they're creating what looks like a potential third world war. They're running out of ideas.
That's right. When that empire is crumbling, its laws become more crazy.
Yeah. So, just keep reaching out because there's more people out there than you realise who are waiting for the truth to land on their lap. And that's why it's so powerful to do it for cars, because they can open their window and you can insert the paper. They can put the window, they can drive off and it feels naughty on their part, right? They haven't embarrassed themselves because no one's seen them take the paper. They can go away, find a cafe and read it, yeah? They can hide it if they're living with blobbies, they can hide it from the blobbies. That's why, you know, sort of doing outreach on the streets is very limited, you know, because they're walking and also when these shoppers and pedestrians, they've got nowhere to put the paper. And if it's a rainy day, and believe it or not, you get rainy days in Scotland, don't you? Right? Where you're gonna have to provide a plastic version of the light paper, aren't you? So yeah.
Talking about leaflets, if anyone's interested in handing out leaflets in Edinburgh,
here's the man.
I've got 1,000 leaflets in my car, which I'm hoping to give to Elizabeth this evening, because I'm going to London tomorrow morning. But it's I've been. You talked about earlier on, David, about when we're trying to wake the masses up, is to do it in a very sort of gentle way. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The expression that I coined a few months ago is to use the smallest wedges with the thinnest edges.
Yeah.
And to take these tiny little wedges and tap the edge in gradually, and then just take a bigger one and a bigger one.
Yeah.
And the main leaflets that I've been distributing are. I'd be interested to know if anyone's doing this in Canterbury, which is for the 5G telecom masts, which are going up at quite a rapid rate across the whole country. And so what I've been doing is printing what I call like a neighbourhood notification. One of the really simple ways to wake people up is through censorship. And everyone gets really cross about the fact that there's only between 1 and maybe 20 neighbours that are ever informed by the council about a planning application for a 50-foot tall mast that's going up in the neighbourhood, when everyone feels and thinks that a lot more people than just like between 1 and 20 neighbours should be informed. So there's a mast going up literally around the corner, a few blocks away from here, which has only had 6 neighbours informed. And it's just a great way of waking people up. And the way, does anyone do this in Canterbury? 5G?
Yes, oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've been invited, it's not just Canterbury, it's Kent-wide. There's a gathering on Wednesday at a council meeting, and our national expert, he's certainly one of the national experts, Ian Jarvis.
Oh yeah.
So he's he's going to be there. I've been invited. I'll do my best to be there. I can be there. That's Wednesday. My suggestion, I haven't actually discussed with Ian. No, I don't think I've been on a few Zooms with him. Is focus on if we look at potential harm, that can easily be denied. But if we focus more on the psychological harm, the distress that's caused by feeling that it could affect sleep and health. So in other words, the distress, the anxiety, and I think that's what
on your street is a big metal pole.
Yeah. So if we focus on actual anxiety felt by real locals, they can't argue with that because you're giving them a fact. Yeah. When we stray from that into this could, this might, this is shown to, that's feeble, in my opinion. And even if it's not feeble, they're not interested. But if real people, if you can see the whites of their eyes and they're saying, I can't sleep at night because I'm so worried, then that's a game changer. Yeah. That's my take on it. And I'll be, if no one else says it on Wednesday, if I'm there, then I'll be making that point.
Well, that's a really good point, David. The other thing that I mean, I've had loads of conversation with Ian Jarvis, but one of the things I want to know is, I do know that in Birmingham they've got a city plan. Part of the city plan is that telecom masts can't be near schools and near hospitals. And what's happened in Birmingham is that because you have to have so many of these masts, they always need one near a school. And what's basically happening is that there's a very, very high percentage of the masts that are being refused in Birmingham just because they just happen to have this local plan in place, which actually talks about how far the masts should be from the schools and the hospitals. And so one of the things I want to find out about, which I don't have enough time to do, but if you find somebody who's interested, is what I want to find out is what's the history behind that? How, who instigated this Birmingham town plan, and how did they go about getting this in place, and why and when? Because that's the simplest way. If we can replicate that, if we can persuade other councils in other cities, that it's actually also quite a good idea to not have to make that, because then it becomes a planning issue, right? So the health issue, you're absolutely right. The health issue doesn't wash because it's already been deemed to be healthy, and the planning officers the planning officers are not qualified to be the ones that decide whether it's healthy or not.
Yes.
So it's already been deemed healthy, but if there's a planning issue in place where it's been deemed that not to have them near schools, then that's a planning objection, and it's been working in Birmingham.
Okay, well, if I make it on Wednesday to the meeting, I hope I will, then I can discuss that with Ian, and we can, and I'll get some. Or are you in direct contact with Ian?
Oh yeah.
Oh right. Well.
Yeah, I have. I've not been. He's stayed in my flat. I've not been able to.
Oh, can't get more direct than that, can you? Right. Question. Oh, question?
So, I forgot your name. What's your name? Mark. Mark is going to give me the leaflet. So anybody wants to help me to distribute the leaflet, please come and I'll give you my number and we can connect with each other, or else I'm on Telegram.
It's this neighbourhood here, so
it's a neighbourhood here. Yeah. So please connect with me, either on Telegram or on my phone. I'll give it to you if you can help me. Thank you.
So that leads me to suggest, do you have an activist, a Telegram presence that could be the makings of an active or activist group in Edinburgh? Have you got that? Yeah. Okay. Right, well, and it organises outreach, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. So just try and get more recruits and spend more time and energy in actually getting out there. That's my advice. There's nothing better that you can do, in my opinion. Because we've already done the research that we needed to do. Well, most of us have, and we now know pretty much what we need to know. So now it's about taking action based on that knowing, based on that knowledge. Yeah, I don't do very much research now. I really don't. I think the law of diminishing return sets in, So it is really about getting out there, armed, with the armour of truth. That I can feel that. You say 3 years ago when I was out on the streets of Manchester. It was bluff and blunder. I was winging it. But now I would take anybody on any subject and I would smash them to smithereens because I've done the research. Yeah? And I know that they haven't. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's going on.
Yeah.
We all know what's going on.
Yeah.
They're killing kids.
Yeah.
They're killing our elders.
No. Well, my granddad would have just gone.
And then they're coming for us.
Yeah.
It's just sad that I've said that to my partner many a time. There's no alpha males. A man doesn't ask to take what's rightfully his. A man takes what's rightfully his. And there's no alpha males. And we need alpha males.
Yeah.
We need alpha males, because this is not going to stop until we stop it.
Yeah.
Because we have the power. And under this tyranny, we can go down there, we can march them out, and we have the evidence, and we can hang them by the neck until the last breath leaves their body.
Well,
and you know, that's what pisses me off. I come and I listen to a lot of things, and I do really respect and appreciate, but I feel it's talk, and it's talk. And do you think they're talking? They're trying to find out more ways to get us. Am I right or am I wrong? Now tell the truth. Be honest with your soul, with yourself. You know what I'm coming for? There's no alpha males.
We have to be active.
We need alpha males to go out there, to go down, to take over. Because I know your take on it, and I respect that, but I know these soldiers are here for us. I know, because when we waken up and we start to go, well, our army's not going to get against us. That's why they're over here.
Yeah, I know.
So we need to take control, and we need to do something about this. I've got a wee plan in mind, but it's personal. You know? But I do, honestly.
Rapid response. One man rapid response team.
You know, I've actually been sick in the past of standing up for men. I'm a scaffolder and I work in an alpha male environment, and it's a rough environment and it's hard. And you know, I've spoke up for men, and you know, when I've spoke up for them, they've turned their back. They're scared. They're feared. Do you know what everybody's scared of? I'll be honest with you. It's death.
Yeah.
Death is the beginning, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the beginning.
Yeah, it's not the end.
300, 400, 500 years ago, a man wanted to wield his sword on the battlefield to protect his women and his children. He didn't stand and speak words. These people are passwords.
Yeah.
These people need taken out, full stop, before they take us out.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel, people. I really do feel like that, honestly. I feel like that. And I feel this is coming. And
well, I think the thing is that in the under 40s, you know, the sort of the millennials and younger, it's gone. There's no alpha male. It's gone. Yeah, there's no resilience.
Heavy metal poisoning though, because
there's a lot. And the injections have made people doubt their gender. So. So not only do they not want to fight, they want to be a woman. You know, it's like.
Or non-binary.
But I make a gag out of that, saying, what kind of idiot would start out as a man and end up as a woman queuing up for 2 hours in the toilet? So, totally agree with you. It's the alpha males are all pensioners now, basically. They're all pensioners now. So we're caught betwixt and between a little bit. So we've got these little mamby-pamby kids, right? And we've got Dad's army. So we've got Dad's army and the little precious kids. And there's not a lot of people in the middle. That's where the real alpha males would be.
There is a lot of alpha males.
No.
They didn't know this information.
Yes, there are.
50,000. I'll go to a football game.
Yeah.
And I'll let go of their Neanderthal test.
Yes. But there's lots of alphas within the blob. So we have to, recruit. Yeah. So everything will be fine. Everything will be fine because light can't be defeated by dark. It's just it's impossibility. Yeah. Everything will be fine. In America, in certain states in America, they have made it illegal, imprisonable to deliver a COVID jab. Florida. Arkansas, isn't it? I always used to say Arkansas. Arkansas, like our kid. There's 2 or 3 states. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's you just have to know. You have to get past your own sort of despondency and despair to just, yeah. And Trump, love him or hate him, is saying things that need to be said. Okay? Yeah, I love him. I love him. You know? Yeah. He's not a saviour, but I call him a role model. No, he's not even a role model. He's just a symbol of hope. Not a saviour, a symbol of hope.
On that point, can I just say,
Yeah, he is. He's a.
on that point, with Trump, you know, I want to believe that there's a white hat, that there's somebody that's fighting a good.
Oh, there are white hats, and it's us. I'm going to interrupt you because I hear this all the time. There's a white hat skepticism. The white hats are one of the reasons why we're being bombarded with such nonsense so quickly is precisely because the white hat military are having successes underground and above air. So there's while on the surface everything looks dark, below ground and above surface things are not going the cabal way. In fact, things are going very, very badly for the cabal. What? Yeah. So Trump was selected by the military to be the figurehead for this humanity countering. You know, they need us because at grassroots level we have got to take on the blob and come out, you know, unscathed, relatively unscathed. Meanwhile, underground and above ground, the military have got to fight the alien forces. Alien, you can put your own definition on what alien means, but there are multiple battles going on in multiple arenas, and we just get a sighting of a very narrow band of what's really going on.
I mean, I'm from Aberdeen, and I hated Trump before it was even fashionable to hate Trump because of the golf course. So I had Trump in my mind, you know, for years before the whole presidential stuff came up. And I was brainwashed like everyone else into believing that orange man bad. And probably one of the biggest awakenings for me was that I actually realised a year or two ago, you know, maybe he's not the bad guy, which is clearly definitely not the bad.
Oh, so you're not about to go anti-white hat on us, right? Yeah. No, he's not.
But what the point I'm getting to is that I still take everything with a pinch of salt, and I believe I want to believe that there's a good force in the world, but I'm still quite cynical, and I always play devil's advocate with myself when I'm thinking about things, and I'm like, you know, but what if Trump is just a different? I mean, they obviously want to take him down, but what if Trump is just another force or a different new world order, different? Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, he's. What I would say is that.
I mean, people always say to me, "But Trump's a Freemason as well. He's a Jesuit. He's."
No, all I would say is I'll try and be as objective as possible. I love the guy. When I heard his inauguration speech, I just melted. I thought, that sounds like Kennedy. Right. To be fair to you, I'll say reasons not to trust Trump. Let's say that and there are reasons of some obvious, some not so obvious. Yeah. But reasons to trust Trump, in my opinion, are much higher. Much higher. If Hillary would have beaten Trump, we would all be. Some of us might not even be here now. We'd be in camps, you know. So Hillary was the cabal puppet par excellence, and in a way that Trump never was. He's not even supposed to be there. It was a massive shock to their system that he even won. They had to rig the 2020 elections to make sure he didn't win again. So there's
this period was needed then, because obviously Biden's come in and the world has just gone to shit.
Well, an actor that's playing the role of Biden. So
If he's being controlled by the white hats as well, but yeah.
So what I would say is the white hats are not going to knock on your door and say it's okay, it's safe to come out now. That's not going to happen. But knowing that they are doing stuff, in inverted commas. If you're looking for crumbs of comfort and hope, there's some crumbs of comfort and hope. But in the everyday here and now, you crack on with your own contribution. If people say, oh, I'm all right now because Trump and the White Hats have got my back, have their bollocks got your back? They're doing what they need to do, right? But you've got your own back, and your comrades here have got your back. And it's a pincer movement. We get it right on the ground. Trump and the troops get it right higher up, and the cabal gets squashed. They just get squeezed off the planet. So we all need each other. Yeah?
Right, thanks. Just want to point out, you may be aware given your legal background, but this guy, an American guy, Kash Patel, have you heard of him? Kash with a K?
Kash with a K.
Right. He writes what he calls his devolution series on Substack. And he maintains that this is all like Trump had all this figured out like way in advance, and there's laws and emergency presidential executive orders in place for everything that we're seeing unfold right now. And there's a massive dragnet, and there's something close to 500,000 sealed indictments locked and loaded, ready to rock and roll for all the traitors that have perpetrated this whole scam. So, and Kash Patel's like he was one of Trump's legal right-hand men during his administration. The guy comes with serious cred, so just to let anybody know that hasn't heard of that guy, is worth reading.
So you're adding a certain kite mark onto what Trump is doing? Yeah.
Kash Patel is like itemizes all the legal moves that Trump made.
Yeah.
So, and it's devolution. If anybody's interested in reading it, Substack, Devolution by Kash Patel, Kash with a K.
Thank you. Can I just throw in another perspective? This is, again, personal perspective. It's something that I've sensed has happened and is happening. On the White Hat military timeline, I personally believe that Biden was hung in a military tribunal, but behind the scenes, because the mainstream blobby timeline couldn't cope with that. But on the mainstream blobby timeline, you've got a scenario in which it looks more and more plausible to impeach a president for treason. Now, when the blobbies get to the point where they can see that Biden has committed treason, then the two timelines will come together, all will be revealed, and the original Biden will be on record as having already been hung. And that's what I see as a potential coming together of the two timelines. No, well, I think... yeah, it's... listen, it's only my feeling and my opinion, but it makes sense to me that, you know, that the original Biden is no longer around, and this is a pathetic fake copy. And so we're just waiting for the timelines to converge where we can all see what actually really did happen. Yeah. I didn't watch, on principle, I didn't watch the coronation, but I know that part of it, Q was. Yeah, listen, the best is yet to come. That's all I can tell you. Yeah. It's just a question of sticking around, keeping the faith. Keep the faith. Keep the faith, just keep the faith. And that's why this outreach is so good, because it's a manifestation of you keeping the faith. It keeps momentum. It's called momentum into the future. If we have the power to co-create the future that we desire. So you do that by getting out there and being the change you wish to see.